Hey there, I'm Red Nova Tyrant, and I've been making videos on the Bravely Default series for over 8 years now. So, you're looking to get into the Bravely series or have some minor interest and want to peek at what's going on? Maybe you're an RPG fan and have heard rumblings about these games for a while now, and are still deciding on whether or not to give it a try, especially with the HD Remaster right around the corner. Well, you're in luck. This video is meant for anyone even remotely interested in trying out any of the games in the series, offering some brief history and highlights from the games, and suggestions on where to start while remaining completely spoiler-free. This is also a good refresher for those returning to the series after hiatus, and if that's you, then welcome. And if you enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more Bravely content. I've got tons in the backlog for you to check out, and liking or subscribing helps the channel immensely. Thank you. To start, what is Bravely Default? Well, Bravely Default is a turn-based RPG series created by Square Enix, produced by Tomoya Asano and Masashi Takahashi. After making the Nintendo DS spin-off Final Fantasy The Four Warriors of Light, Asano and several members of his team would go on to create a spiritual successor to the classic Final Fantasy games in the form of Bravely Default Flying Fairy in 2012. The game proved extraordinarily successful in Japan, and then was later released in the West to further praise. Since then, we have gotten 3 mainline games in the series that have been released in the West, with a 4th on the way, alongside a multitude of spin-offs and side content only being released in Japan. These spin-offs aren't terribly important for newcomers, but they do offer some interesting pieces of lore. The mainline games that are available worldwide are Bravely Default Where the Fairy Flies, Bravely 2nd End Lair, and Bravely Default 2, as well as the upcoming remaster for Bravely Default 1. If you are a fan of classic FF, particularly ones that feature team customization and jobs like Final Fantasy V, then Bravely Default will probably be right up your alley. I'll explain those subtitle names later, by the way, including why Bravely Default 1 has 3 of them. Bravely Default takes the traditional turn-based format and modernizes it tenfold. As usual, the basics of combat involve you picking actions for your team, and then they go out and do them. In Bravely Default and 2nd, this happens in a more team planning way, where you pick everyone's actions in advance, and then let speed and variability decide who acts when. Meanwhile, Bravely Default 2 is probably more familiar to FF veterans, picking one action at a time with a pseudo ATB bar determining when people go. What makes Bravely's combat so special compared to other games are the customizability and unique systems it offers. Bravely games have upwards of 20 plus jobs you can use to make your team your way. Lots of Final Fantasy staples appear throughout these games, like the White and Black Mages, Dark Knight, Monk, and more, while others are similar to ones you've seen, but slightly different, such as Valkyrie as a Dragoon replacement in the 3DS titles. And some jobs are just truly insane, like Bravely 2nd's Wizard that lets you augment how you cast spells, turning them into AoEs, dots, or even change them into physical damage. And on top of that, each character has not only a main job that determines stat boosts and passives, but they also have sub-jobs, meaning you can take the active abilities of another job into combat on the same character for some crazy combinations. So, you could take a monk with Dark Knight abilities into combat, use Phoenix Flight on the monk to spend all but 1 point of HP and deal that much HP lost as damage to an enemy, and then spam minus strike 3 more times from the Dark Knight to deal damage equal to your currently missing HP. Wait, 3 more times? Yes, Bravely Default's primary gimmick is the Brave and Default system. On a turn, instead of taking an action, you can choose to default and take a defensive posture, only receiving half damage for the turn, and also gaining 1 BP, a special resource alongside the classic HP and MP values. Then, on a later turn, you can use that BP to Brave, taking extra actions on your turn. Since you can hold up to 3 BP at a time, that means you can have one character take up to 4 actions on a single turn. However, you don't necessarily need BP to Brave. If you want to risk it, you can actually Brave without enough BP and go into the negatives. but if the battle hasn't ended by that character's next turn, they will be stuck taking no actions at all until enough turns have passed to pay back the missing BP. It's a high-risk, high-reward system. If a boss is getting low, do you go all out and take the chance that you might not have enough damage to finish them off and get wiped next turn? Or do you need your healer to fully restore your team after a party wipe, hoping that they'll be able to end the fight before the healer gets KO'd next? It's a really fun and invigorating system that adds some spice to the genre. And if the BP system sounds similar to Octopath Traveler's BP system, well, it should. Octopath Traveler was made by a lot of the people that also worked on Bravely Default, which came first. Oh, and how can I forget, on the 3DS titles, you also have SP, a very rare resource that will pause time with the Bravely Second command and allow you to act with one character at any time, even in the middle of a boss's attack. And during Bravely Second, you can go over the traditional 9999 damage cap. And those are just the basics of gameplay. I didn't even mention summoning friends moves that were sent to you from other players, or how you can extend buffs from one special move by using another before the first one's song ends. But of course, you'll have to try the games out to experience this for yourself. Of course, even if you haven't played any of them, there's a good chance that you've at least heard or heard of the legendary music the Bravely games are known for. The soundtracks for Bravely Default 1 and 2 were composed by Revo of Linked Horizon, also called Sound Horizon for their original works, and they are some of the finest collections of music ever made for a video game series. Filled with character and motifs and wonder galore, the songs you'll hear will absolutely burrow into your head and live there forever. Here, have a taste. By the way, that was the normal boss theme for the first game. One of the more well-known tracks from the first Bravely Default is the final boss theme, Serpent Eating the Horizon. But it goes beyond boss themes, and even if you don't get to play any of these games, I highly recommend going on YouTube or Spotify and listening through the whole thing. And if you recognize that sound from somewhere, it's because Revo is also the one responsible for this. Yeah, so if you like the Attack on Titan openings, imagine playing a whole game with music made by that guy. It truly is that good. Bravely's second soundtrack consisted of some songs from BD1, as well as some new tracks from Rio of Supercell. While different from Revo's work, I think Rio still did an incredible job. Plus, we even got an anime opening song out of that game, so there's that. Regardless, both of them use music to tell the story of each game beautifully. I'm not going to go into any details here, but if you are curious as to what the plots are like, mostly they follow similar plots to the older Final Fantasies. Elemental crystals that need saving, 4 warriors of light that go on a quest to do so, you know the drill. So if you enjoy those classic style stories with strong characters and fun interactions between them, building up to big plot twists and fighting gods, then you'll probably like Bravely's plots. Also fairies. Fairies are a big part of Bravely. Just keep that in mind. As for the visual department, the game's attempt to emulate a storybook style with its use of chibi-esque character models and painted backgrounds. Each town is beautifully hand-painted to give the impression that the characters are running around on a pop-up book, and they are really gorgeous to behold. And I can't leave out how the 3DS entries made use of nearly every single feature that system had to offer. AR gyroscope cutscenes that utilize the camera to scan AR art cards, the 3D not looking terribly atrocious, the dual screen layout, a control setup that allowed you to play with only the left side of the 3DS, Street Pass, and formerly internet access to connect and interact with other people's copies of the games. So much is possible with these games. And if you like fourth wall breaks, Bravely absolutely has you covered. But I wouldn't dare spoil a single thing there, so let's move along. Now on to the ultimate question. Which game should I play? And what the hell is the difference between Bravely Second and Bravely Default 2? I feel like I should address the latter first, so let's just get it over with now. Bravely Second is the direct sequel to Bravely Default. Same world, most of the same characters alongside new ones, just 2 years of time having passed between their events. It carries on the events of the first game and expands the world introduced previously, with a noticeably more anime feel to its tone and writing, and enhanced quality of life. This game is, as of this video's release, only available on the 3DS. Bravely Default 2 is a completely separate world and story, though retaining many of the core elements of the series. The easiest way to look at it is, again, by thinking of it like the Final Fantasy series. Every newly numbered entry is a brand new story, while Bravely Second is like Final Fantasy X-2, an actual direct sequel. Bravely Default 2 is also very accessible, as in it is the easiest to actually play since it's both on Switch and Steam for PC. You don't need to play either of the previous games at all for this entry, you won't be missing out on anything, just a few small references here and there. And if you do choose to play a 3DS entry, don't fret about the servers being down. They were closed last year, but they are not necessary in the slightest for completing the game. You aren't going to truly 100% the game anymore, but you can completely play the game without it. Each game wraps up everything fairly well, so any entry feels decent enough by its finale. However, if you do play second, there will be a throwaway cliffhanger in the post-credits for what was, or is, meant to be a third Luxendark Bravely game. I would advise not getting too hung up on that, as this lack of continuation has led to some frustration within the community. The Switch 2 Remaster will have these friend summons and similar online services active. The upcoming Bravely Default Flying Fairy Remaster is just the fullest version of the original first game. I am always going to recommend this above all else. Bravely Default 1 is the strongest game on its own in the series and is definitive in what makes the series so good. Plus, this is essentially a remaster of a remaster, so it's going to be even better than what most people have raved about for the last decade. Also, don't get too caught up on the subtitles. Flying Fairy was the original Japanese release for the sequel, and Where the Fairy Flies were the remasters, and then the new Flying Fairy Remaster is the newest version. And for a quick note regarding grievances with each game, I encourage you to play each game yourself and come to your own conclusions. There has been tons of internal debate in the community about each game's issues, but I hope that you will give all of them a fair chance and ultimately decide for yourself how you feel about them. I even recommend against looking for my thoughts on each title. Enjoy them at your own leisure and come to your own conclusions. TLDR, Bravely Default Flying Fairy Remaster for the Switch 2 or Bravely Default 2 are your best choices to start with. Play Bravely Second if you want more of the Luxendark story after finishing BD1, or if you like your RPGs to have a looser, more anime feel. All in all, if you enjoy turn-based RPGs and want to get into a modernized series with lots of quality of life improvements, unique combat systems and customization, incredible music and fun visuals with a great cast of characters, then give the Bravely series a try. If you want to know more, I have a lengthy backlog of videos you can check out to learn more about the series. I hope this short intro was of some help to you. If it was, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to see how many people give the Bravely games a try from seeing this video. And please, if you have any questions that weren't answered by this video, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Alright then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.